Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer for the 500th time. My name is Tim, and with me, as always, is Frank. How are you today?
Hey, buddy, we did it. We made it to 500.
500 episodes. 500 of something nobody asked for, but yet we continue to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, my wife has asked for it to keep me busy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Please get out of here
and go it to keep me busy. I don't know. You go do something that's not bother me for a little while.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Well, and that is what brings us here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I love that the bell didn't work.
It didn't the first time, so I had to, yeah.
That's an omen if there ever was one.
Yeah. The next 500 are just going to be a total bust.
Downhill slide. Yeah. Total bust.
We peaked. We peaked somewhere around 249.
Exactly.
Been all downhill since then.
All downhill. Frank, tell me what you're drinking today, this afternoon, for the 500th time. What alcohol do you have?
I'm drinking one that I have not tried yet. I love Maine Beer Company. I've talked about them before. The Maine Lunch IPA and Peeper is another one. But every year they make one called Thank You. So the Thank You IPA, and it's a different recipe every year.
Oh.
So I picked up a bottle of it. I thought, okay, Thank You is sort of. It's
a good one. No,
thank you, listeners, for. We wouldn't be at 500 episodes if somebody wasn't listening to it. We wouldn't bother doing it. So
exactly right.
So thank you to all of you for listening, and I thought this was a fitting thing for episode 500. So yeah, it's called Thank You. It is an IPA. The 2024 version of it has citrus notes and caramel and pine. And I'm going to take a sip right now.
That sounds delicious. I want to say thank you for loving me. Thank you for being here.
Nice.
The whole world's thinking.
We should talk about Bob's Burgers one of these days.
We could. I should probably watch it.
Have you not watched it? Okay.
I have. I've watched a handful. It was a show that my wife was like, "Oh, I think I'd like to watch Bob's Burgers," and then we just never
got around
to watch Bob's Burgers. And so, but we're not really watching anything right now. I will suggest it. See how far that goes.
It's a good one. It's really good for watching either in the background or you can watch a few of them in a row if you have the time for it. It's a good sort of background binge type of thing. It's really fun. Doesn't require too much of your attention, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
What are you
Anyway,
drinking?
how's that beer? Beer?
It's excellent. I love the it is a little citrusy up front, but I definitely get the caramel and a little bit of the pine. And it's a little, I don't mean this in a bad way, it's a little pungent, but only a little.
Pungent? I don't know if I want my beer to be pungent. That doesn't sound.
I know, but it's it's just like a nice after note on the nose. I don't know. I like it.
I am drinking something from the Spoetzl brewery. I've had this before many times, but I haven't had it in a while. I'm drinking a Shiner Bock.
Oh, love Shiner Bock.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just great. And I thought 500 episodes, I need to go with something that I know I'm going to enjoy. It's going to be a good time. Something that kind of wraps up my almost experience doing the show. What a great beer. What a great time with you. So yeah, I'm drinking a Shiner Bock.
Love it.
It's served cold. Oh, you bet.
Oh yeah.
You bet, Shiner Bock. It's just I don't know. It feels like when you're like, I need a cold beer. Shiner Bock is the way to go.
It is.
That's, I need something classic. This is a beer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
It's good.
and well, yes, that's a really good one. There's I love it with. I mean, it's from Texas. It goes great with Texas barbecue. When I was in Austin like 10 years ago, I was drinking a lot of those all over town. And then there's a barbecue place that we go to a lot, and it's Texas style barbecue. I always drink a Shiner Bock with it. It just goes, a nice like brisket or pulled pork or whatever goes really, really nice with a cold Shiner Bock.
Yep, that's a great combo. A great combo that I wish that I could participate in right now. I'm a little hungry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what else? There are a lot of great combos. We have a lot of wonderful friends of the show, who were kind enough to send us their questions for us to answer on the air. So we thought for 500, we would sort of hand the reins over and let some friends of the show pose some questions to us, sort of pose some topics to us that we want to discuss. They want us to discuss. So I say let's jump in and start answering some questions.
Let's do it.
Okay. So first one comes from our good buddy Vactor. Let's see what he has to say.
Hi, Frank and Tim. This is Vactor from Trust in the Force, and This Comic Cooks on YouTube, Vactorverse everywhere else. I had a quick question for you both. If you had to describe your podcast using only quotes from movies, which would you choose? Frank, Tim, which would you choose? Also, guys, happy 500th episode. 500 episodes. I don't know anyone else personally who has done 500 episodes, so kudos, hats off to you boys. 500 amazing episodes. Here's to another 500 more.
Thanks very much, buddy. Cheers. Well, I guess the most obvious thing that I would say is it's a hive of scum and villainy.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say like our intro, right? Because like, it comes in pints. Like I think that would be like
True.
That's that would be a good one. Great Scott is
Great
another
Scott.
one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are, I mean, we did, I guess we did kind of, we kind of chose the ones that we thought would fit, but I think, yes, never will you find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than this one.
If there, truthfully, it's not in our, intro, but if anybody asked me about the show, I think I would, as a quote, I would respond with, I saw it happen. I watched it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen. that would be mine. That would be the go-to.
I might go with, where are you going, master? For a drink.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, why isn't that in the intro? That would be an amazing one.
That is a good one.
Maybe after 500 episodes, maybe we should think about doing a whole new line of quotes.
Yeah, it's like when a show has a new season and there's new opening credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are some good ones. Yeah, I think those are the ones that come to mind most easily. Thanks for the question, buddy. Appreciate it.
Love you, buddy.
All right, here's one from our friend Brent.
Frank and Tim, congratulations on a remarkable achievement. 500 episodes of Beer with Geeks. That is spectacular. This is Brent from currently Marvel Alliance and formerly Fans Without Borders. Now, on Fans, we were known for definitely being willing to die on some hills. I'm curious, what is the geekiest hill that you two are willing to die on?
Xanadu is a great movie.
That's... Oh, no! No! It's not. But I appreciate it.
It's objectively not, but sure.
Love it. Yeah.
I love it. I do.
Yeah. I could. Oh, see, now it's funny. I didn't even think of it in that way. I went kind of negative. But
where'd you go?
I could absolutely die on the Judge Dredd is a great movie.
Oh, yeah, but you're not going to get a lot of resistance to that one.
No, it's super fun. Yeah, it's hard. Or The Phantom or The Shadow or whatever. Mine is... Mine is that Iron Man 3 is one of the worst comic book movies out there. Mm-hmm. I think that's the hill I will die on.
Yeah. That's one for you for sure. That's one that you feel very, very strongly about. I also dislike Iron Man 3, but like as much as I dislike Iron Man 2 or Thor 2, or like, it's just like mediocre. But you really, really, you hate it the way you hate Spider-Man 3, I think.
Yeah, you know, I almost went with Spider-Man 3. I was like really close, but there's like parts of Spider-Man 3 that I really like. And so
yeah, of course,
like,
the snapping fingers and stuff, you love that stuff.
You know, as it's so like, I don't know, fun to make fun of now that I like can't not like it in its own way, but I'll never ever like I don't know, Eddie Brock praying for God to kill Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
I've never,
it's total nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just all an excuse to get him in the church, to be a mediocre, anyway.
Yeah. It's just an excuse to get him near the bells. That's it. But like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels like a whiteboard, and I know it's a whiteboard, and I think there are other comic book movies that are also like that, but they don't have, but because Spider-Man 1 and 2 are just so good, objectively, even, like, and so it just, like, doesn't, yeah, no,
yeah.
Yes, no.
No, I hear you. No, I mean, I joked about Xanadu. I think the one that the hill that I am willing to die on is that, like, the thing that I've probably talked everyone's ear off about the most is, like, don't try to make Superman into Batman. That's the thing that I'll, is that, like, don't try to make Superman into Batman. He is a distinct character with different characteristics and different traits. And when you mix the two too much, it's not either one of them anymore.
Sure.
So,
yep, absolutely. I completely agree.
All right. Thanks, Brent. Moving on to our friend Andrew, who asks this.
Hey, Tim and Frank. This is Andrew. Congratulations on 500 episodes. It's hard to believe you're already there. My question for you is, what is the most unexpected connection you've made between two seemingly unrelated geeky topics?
Seemingly unrelated geeky topics. You said you had one for this off the top.
So this is tricky. I had to like go back into previous episodes to look, but we during our superhero slapback, which we really should get back to.
Oh yes.
We watched Swamp Thing, and we made the connection that Swamp Thing is just Alan Moore's The Lorax.
Oh yes.
And like I think that is one of the weirdest connections that we've ever made.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And so, yeah, this was a really, really hard question because I'm sure that we actually do it quite frequently.
Oh, I'm sure we do. One that I thought of, actually I thought of it when you mentioned Judge Dredd before, was about RoboCop, that this was probably you, pointed out that it's basically Frankenstein plus capitalism.
Yep, that was me. That was 100% me. Yeah, because it's been on I teach Frankenstein, and it's been on a list of like Frankenstein adaptations. So,
yep. Yeah. So that's definitely one. Another one is that we called Harry Potter. We did a Harry Potter episode a long time ago.
Gosh, yeah, I would count that as season 1.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was definitely year 1. It was way early, and we talked about how Harry Potter is the Great Gatsby with wands.
Yeah, right. He's just trying to, like, wait. Why did we say that? I gotta wait. Hold on. Why did we? Don't tell me. I want to see if I can figure it out again because I don't. Our train of thought that he comes from nothing, discovers that he has wealth, right, or like gains wealth like Gatsby does.
Yep.
In some ways, and tries to make it in a different society than he grew up knowing. Is that where we? Is that what we said?
I think that is. Yeah, I think that is more or less where it came from. Yeah.
Word.
Consistent.
Yeah.
We're nothing if not consistent.
We are nothing but,
nothing but. It's true.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Andrew. Always good to hear from you, my friend.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate you. Let's hear from our friend Damon.
Hey, Tim and Frank. Damon here. Congratulations on 500 episodes, and here's to 500 more. My question for the pod is, what's the most surreal moment of geek culture crossing over into your real life because of the podcast?
I've got two for this.
You have two.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. You can go first. Go ahead.
I think one of the most surreal things that ever happened was when I was at my old job, and I.
This was going to be one of mine. This
Really?
is totally one of mine. Yeah.
I was
absolutely.
at my old job, and I was having a meeting with someone from another company. I'm going to try to keep this as anonymous as I can. You know who you are if you're listening. And a meeting with someone from another company, and he was asking, what do you do outside of work? And I said, oh, I do podcasts. He asked me a little bit more about them, and I said, oh, there's this one called Beer with Geeks, and this other one called Supergirl TV Talk. And he was like, you're that frank? I listen to those. And I was like, no, you don't. Come on. Like, I was like, I'm sure he's trying to just be nice and build me up. But like, he legit was a listener to Supergirl TV Talk and Beer with Geeks, and had been listening for a while. Like, he started making references that he could only have been making if he was really a listener. So I knew it was true, and that was pretty wild. And then he would email us every once in a while, especially on Supergirl. So yeah, that was definitely a surreal moment.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually one of mine which just didn't even really happen to me. It happened to you, but it is wild.
Don't tell me it didn't happen. I saw it happen.
God damn it! Don't tell me. Mine isn't necessarily a Beer with Geeks related, but without Beer with Geeks, it wouldn't have happened. And so, like, Beer with Geeks led into us doing Supergirl TV Talk, where we covered CBS's and then the CW's Supergirl show. And in that, we got to speak to like cast members and directors and writers, and like we talked to Sterling Gates, who was a writer on Supergirl, the show, and the comics for a long time. And other things, we spoke to one of the directors several times. Like, he listened to the show and then like would email us and say like, oh, I'm glad you noticed this thing that we did. Like, we were hoping somebody would notice. And like, that was very surreal to like kind of have a not just a fan viewership, but actually feel like, not like a contributor to the show. That's not correct.
But a connection to the show.
But a real connection. Yeah. And I treasure that time. And without Beer with Geeks, that show never would have happened.
No,
I don't think
we would not have thought to do that.
No, even to have the listenership on either end, because we had a respectable listenership, and then that caused us Supergirl TV Talk, which we had a great listenership, which then fed into Beer with Geeks, and so so we've really gotten to 500 because of that show.
It's true.
Working together.
Yeah, it is true.
So that's definitely, I think all of the, like when you're just talking to, I don't know, Helen Slater, who played Supergirl in the 80s, and, oh my gosh, what was his name? Martian Manhunter.
David
Harwood.
David Harwood, yeah.
Right. And and that was before it was revealed that he was Hank Henshaw, before it was revealed that he was Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
Right. And I think like that, I like that was very exciting. That's all very, very exciting.
It was all very exciting. Yeah. We got to do a lot of really cool interviews, really cool conversations with people who made that show. And yeah, it felt like we had a connection with the behind the scenes, and it was really, really cool that some of them would proactively reach out, like they were listening to the podcast, and they would comment on things that we said, and like tell us if we were on the right track with guesses we were making and stuff like that. That was definitely surreal. My second one was a surreal thing was when I got recognized at Dragon Con. I was in the audience at the Superman panel, or one of many Superman panels hosted by Michael Bailey, one of the foremost Superman fans on the internet. And I was actually waiting after a panel to walk up and say hi to him, because we know each other from Twitter and stuff, and I wanted to say hello. And someone recognized I had like my badge, and they saw, I think, I don't remember if it said Thought Bubble Audio, if it said Supergirl TV Talk. I don't remember which one it said, but they recognized that, and they were like, "Wait, are you Frank from Supergirl TV Talk?" And they knew. I mean, look, it was a room full of Superman fans, so the odds were decent, I guess.
They were in your favor.
But still, that was weird to be recognized in person for my podcast.
Yeah. Even for people too, like we've met people online or in person, like say like, oh, I actually I listened to your show. It's like that is still very odd to me. You know, like I actually don't really know how to respond to it. Which is like, you know, which is it's not that it's embarrassing, but it's like because it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
It's so insulated.
It's so true. Like we know people are listening, but it doesn't always feel like it. It feels like it's a thing that you and I do, and then we put it away, and we forget things that we said, right? And then someone will reference it, and I'm like, when did I said that?
I said that. Oh,
that was pretty smart.
That was very insightful, Frank. I'm glad that you said that. I have no recollection of it whatsoever. Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Yes. And so when someone's like, "Oh yeah, I listen," it's like, "Oh, thank you know." I mean, you say thank you for listening, but outside of that, it's like, I hope I didn't say anything weird that you thought was weird.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
All right, that was a good one. Let's see. That was Damon. Let's see what our friend Derek had for us.
Hi, this is Derek Russell. You might remember me from such podcasts as Blending In and Cooking with Steric. Frank and Tim, I've got 2 questions for you.
Number 1, how dare you?
And number 2, if you were designing a live-action Superman suit for the big screen, what would yours look like? I also just want to say congratulations on a decade of Beer with Geeks with your 500th milestone episode. It's an amazing achievement, and I would toast you if you two hadn't already drank literally everything. I'm concerned for your mental well-being as well as your livers. But here is to 500 more episodes, another 10 years, and your inevitable 12-step program. Congratulations and cheers.
Cheers, Derek. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for looking out for us.
Yes, appreciate your concern. It is noted and appreciated. So, Superman suit. You're a big costume guy.
I love a good costume.
You're
you know
a big
that.
Costume guy.
Costumes were good. Yeah,
Yes.
it's gonna go on my tombstone.
Yeah.
At least the costumes were good.
You know what? I think 500 is probably the right episode to have that be the title.
Going on. Oh, at least the costumes were good. Or it's going on my tombstone.
No, the costumes. It's like, the episode was okay. At least the costumes were good.
At least the costumes were good. Yeah. That's the whole one thing you can hope for.
Yes.
In a movie. And so this is tough. There are a lot of iterations of Superman suits out there, but I think like ideally what I would like to see, I would actually really prefer, like, in a lot of ways, the Dean Cain Superman suit with money behind it. You know, like it's not just like a dance leotard with the S clearly sewn
Sure,
on,
yeah.
or whatever. You know, it's challenging, but I like a more royal blue like attached to it. Like it doesn't have to be super vibrant or sky blue like the Chris Reeves suit.
Sure.
But like a royal blue. I like kind of in a lot of ways even like a deep royal red, like almost like a fire engine red in some ways. Because I think the suit is a symbol. Like you want to see the red streak across the sky.
Yeah.
So you don't want the reds to be muted. I love that. I would like a classic S crest, maybe a little stylized, maybe like skip out on the little like bottom ball on the bottom of the S at the bottom, but I like it to expand the whole chest. I don't like small S's. Like I want the S to make a statement. Like it doesn't have to be in the middle of the pectoral muscles. It's almost like you want to, like do the whole thing, cover the whole thing. I don't mind if the trunks are there or not there. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other. I think the suit is designed for them to have a color break in the middle, which is why the trunks work. It looks quite strange when they're not there, like it's missing something, not because you're used to it, but it's just like there should be a definitive break there because that's what the eye is kind of used to seeing.
Yes.
or should be kind of used to it. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Cape should kind of flow down all the way to the shoulders. It should be tucked into the back. It shouldn't be tucked into like the shoulders or like an extra special part. Like it should be kind of like, like almost like that rolled look, like in the back.
Tucked in like behind the shoulder, not at the waist.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
I just wanted to be clear about that.
Yeah, not at the waist.
Tucked into the trunks.
Just like fluffed to the back.
Yeah.
Like, ooh. I think most importantly, like, it's got to I think the belt should be yellow or gold. Like it should mirror the yellow in the crest. Like that's why it's there again as color goes, but the collarbone should be exposed on the collar. It should be lower.
Yeah.
I really don't like the high collar because in my mind, he wears the suit under his clothes.
Right.
Like it's 1942 or whatever.
Right.
It's still under his clothes. So like he can't wear the big puffy thing if it's under his clothes.
Yeah,
he just
sure.
can't.
Right.
And I obviously it's like it'd be a pocket dimension. It could be like
yeah, sure.
He could fly to change it and then come back. Like, whatever.
It's in a ring.
Like,
who knows? It's
like right. It doesn't. But in my mind, it's still under his clothes, even though I know logically, like, who cares? But also, who cares?
Who cares?
It's a man who can like move planets. Like, who cares? It's under his clothes.
Give me a good shirt rip.
Yeah, exactly. What about you?
I have always been intrigued by the idea of the Fleischer style costume in live action. I've thought for many years now, I'm sure I've said this here and I'm sure I've said it on one of the several Superman related podcasts that I've been part of. Apologies if I'm repeating myself, but I've always thought it'd be really, really clever to do a Superman period piece that takes place in 1938 or in the 40s. Because then you can have a lot of the trappings and things that are a little bit cheesy now that are hard to do and take yourself seriously in a modern story. You can pull some of that off because it's a period piece. So I've always thought that would be, and you can have like the really nice Art Deco style, and everyone can have the really cool fashion from the time. Lois can be wearing very fashionable 40s clothes. Anyway, I've always thought that would be fun. But if we're talking just a regular, like it's a modern telling of Superman, I agree with a lot of what you have to say. I think I would want the S not to be as big as Dean Kane's. At least like at the beginning, I think it was, where it was like all the way across his chest.
No, at the beginning it was quite small. Actually,
and then it got bigger. Is that what it was?
It got bigger as it went on. Yeah.
Okay. I would like it not at its biggest, like in season 4, I guess. Then,
but not like Alex Ross big.
Not Alex Ross big, but not
Brandon Routh.
Routh small. Yeah, where it's like sort of a accessory just sort of hanging there in the middle. I would like it somewhere in between. I feel like the David Cornsweet one is pretty.
It's a good size.
Pretty decent size.
It's a decent size. It could be a little bigger to me.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve is actually like a perfect size. I think
it is. It's a great size. Yeah. Honestly,
so,
what it has to do more than anything, it has to fit the chest of the person.
That's right. That's right.
And like. Yeah, and it's like, Brandon Routh's a good example. Like he's a big guy, but it makes him look smaller. Like it weirdly makes him look smaller the way that it diminished, because it should like almost like accentuate the shoulders, make them appear larger. So anyway, I do like a longer cape too.
I like a long cape.
I like it going down to the boots. Chris Reeve's costume is classic and great or whatever, but the cape's a little too short for me.
I agree. Yeah. I've always thought the cape should be longer. George Reeves had a nice long cape, and I always liked that.
Yep. Even Henry Cavill has a really nice long cape.
Yes.
Like it's really
good long cape.
Yeah, regal-ish. Yeah.
I want the S on the cape. I like the S belt buckle too. That's not super traditional, but I like it.
Oh, that's fast. See, I don't. I feel it feels very redundant to me. Where you're like, it's right there.
Sure.
So why is it 5 inches down?
Sure.
Or whatever. Or like a foot down. 5 inches. He's very diminutive. He has no.
I guess. I think of it sort of like you're wearing your Flash baseball cap, and I think of it as like, he's got his Flash symbol on his chest, but then he's got lightning bolts around his waist or on his wrists, depending on which.
That's okay.
It's sort of just like
I guess so. Yeah.
It's like an accent. I don't know. That's how I think of it.
No, it's true. If Batman has a bat on his utility belt,
right.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Well, I guess it does kind of like sometimes he does. Like so, Adam West had a bat on the utility belt and on his chest.
Yes.
Dick Grayson's Batman has like a bat on the utility belt.
Mm-hmm.
on the chest. It's it happens.
There's
but
precedent.
I don't. Yeah, there is. Yeah, I don't. It is whatever.
Yeah.
I guess.
But it's not traditional for usually it's an oval. The buckle. I prefer trunks. I can live without them. I prefer them. I agree. I don't like a high collar. And the texture. I think it's interesting that they've been playing with textures the last 20 years or so. I think it's really cool. It has always felt a little, but why though? Like, practically, why would like the Brandon Routh one? The texture, if you zoom in all the way, it's a bunch of little S's. And I've always been like, but why would that be? Like, why? So it's cool.
Yes,
it's cool as an idea, but it doesn't feel like something that doesn't feel like organic as part of a story.
I think so. I don't ever take it as part of the story. It's more about because it makes the fabric pop on camera a little bit more, and so it just like happens to be S's. They were like they needed something to make it pop, so they put S's. Or like the Henry Cavill suit, one of them has like Joseph Campbell quotes in
Really? I didn't realize that.
Chinese or Kryptonian.
That's cool.
Yeah. I want to say it's BVS that did that, but I can't remember. So, but could have been Man of Steel. It was one of those. It definitely wasn't Justice League. But so like that's that's okay, but it's not like obviously Superman didn't like read Joseph Campbell and was like, oh, it's me. Like,
right. Yeah.
And then put that on a suit, or Jarrell certainly didn't do that, or whatever. It's just just to make it appear a little better on screen. That's why like Spider-Man's webs in the Raimi movies are raised.
But see, that fits that makes sense. That makes
because he's like putting them on instead of sewing them into the fabric individually.
Well, yeah, and because it's like even in the 2D comic book version, like there is a texture, there is like a if not a texture, a design on the
I see, right? It's not just flat blue.
Right. So making that be textured, making a design that's on the fabric be raised is like, okay, that's a logical next step. But adding texture where there is none, to me is I don't know. I just don't prefer it. But it's not a deal breaker.
No, I understand. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other, but I do remember like watching like The Amazing Spider-Man, the first Andrew Garfield movie.
Yes.
And like his spider suit, which I love that suit, is revealed, and you look at it and you're like, that is some professionally made costume.
Yes.
Like, what material is that? How did he get that? How did he make that? And it does take you out of it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess for like Spider-Man, for Superman, not so much. Like,
right.
If you're going with Martha made it, it might take me out of it.
Yeah.
If you're going with
Kryptonian fabric or whatever, like that's
then it doesn't take me out of it the same way.
I've always liked the Silver Age. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you prefer Superman's cape be his blanket? Because that would matter in the texture.
Yes. So I was going to say, I've always liked the Silver Age version where it is his blanket from the ship, and Martha turned it into his suit. Yes, I've always liked that. There's
better than the aluminum foil that Christopher Reeve was wrapped in, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like one of those blankets they wrap people in at the end of a marathon.
Right. When I think of the Star Trek blankets, they're all just like these, like hologram, like shimmery, like you're never gonna get any sleep. It's just gonna reflect light all the time.
Yeah. And I like when they say that his glasses are made of the glass from the windows on the ship, and that's how his heat vision can work through them.
Wasn't that a George Reeves thing?
I think that might have been Silver Age Comics thing.
Oh, okay. Because I'm pretty sure I remember
it might be in that series too.
Yeah, I love that too. I just like. Yeah, just like stupid reasons. It's from a ship, so it'll work. And you go, okay,
yeah.
I don't even know how the glass works. It's like
it traveled through space and made it, so it must be able to withstand.
It must be able to do this. That's fine. Whatever. I don't really care.
I've always been partial to that. So that kind of gives you both, right? Because you get the Martha worked on it thing, but you also get the it's Kryptonian fabric, so that's why it is the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just an excellent seamstress.
She is. I don't know how she's able to pierce it with a regular needle and thread, but yeah, exactly.
there's a sewing kit inside the spaceship.
Oh, I see. Laura sent that. That was very
like a bag of holding from D&D where you can just grab whatever you want out of it. A Mary Poppins bag style. You just like, everything's in there. It doesn't matter.
And as he takes off and flies away, he says, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all."
Yeah. Up, and I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Yeah, right? Yeah, no.
Okay, let's move on to the next one from our friend Scott.
Hello, Tim and Frank. This is Scott here from the DC Squadcast and Squadcast Media. I am chilling here, drinking on a Sam Adams summer ale, citrus wheat ale. Perfect, cool, and refreshing when it's hot as hell outside. And I'm here to congratulate y'all on 500 episodes of Beer with Geeks. I think that is absolutely incredible, especially coming from two podcasters and a podcast that I was listening to long before I started my own podcasting endeavor. And I do credit with inspiring a love in podcasting and an interest in the art form to begin with. I am so excited for you guys. Congratulations. And also very honored that you invited me to be a part of it. So, what's the geekiest way you've ever celebrated a podcast milestone before this? So, thank you guys for being friends, for being fellow podcasters, and I want you to always remember Martian Manhunter wins. That, kids, is what we call a callback.
Love it. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott. That was a great question. One, Sam Adams, good for you.
Yes.
You know what's up. What's up. I'm actually also glad that Scott mentioned that he was kind of influenced by listening to us to then start his own quite successful podcast.
Very successful, yes.
And so very successful. And what I think is wild about that is, like, we did know that he's been upfront about that early, and it actually is quite surreal from our end to be like, oh, I love what you guys are doing. I kind of want to do that myself, and then be really successful at it. It's like a little proud papa kind of moment.
Yeah.
And so that is quite surreal in of itself.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's very, it's really cool to see that. Like, I have that too, right? Like, I have people who are friends of mine, who I become friends with through podcasting, who inspired me to do it. So it's pretty cool to think that. I feel weird being like, oh, I inspired somebody, but like, it's cool to think that, we all sort of listen to each other and learn things from each other and say, ooh, I want to do what he's doing. I'm going to take a little bit from her. I'm going to take a little bit from him, and make your own sort of patchwork thing. And yeah, what Scott and Tim have made is very successful. So cheers to them for all the success they've had, for sure.
Tim Earth 2, to be clear,
yes.
not me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. On a callback.
Another callback.
Yeah. But anyway, Scott's question about what is, what's the geekiest way that we've celebrated a milestone besides this one? And I don't know.
Okay, so episode 400 comes to my mind. Episode 400 was... What did we do? We watched Batman 89.
Oh, that was what came to my head, but I wasn't sure if that was a milestone episode or not, because I have a very distinct memory of sitting in your home.
Yes.
Like, doing a commentary on Batman 89, and we had an absolute blast.
We did.
Like, that was one of our finest and funniest.
It was one of the most fun. It was one of the most fun recordings that we've done. I mean, I believe we drank liquor that night, not beer.
We did.
I think it was whiskey and gin and cigars.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. That was definitely a lot of fun. But that was a big milestone that we celebrated in style, for sure. I can think of,
we did 300 when we had episode 300,
yes,
which I think was a great little connection for us.
Yes.
I think that was a very good one.
That was a very good one.
Yeah, as far as the milestones are concerned, I think that's
up there. I love that this is not necessarily a milestone, but in a sense, I love that for episode 7 we did 007.
Yes.
I remember that. I'm thinking that was the way to go for that one. So that's one that sticks out in my mind. I don't know that we did a ton for episodes, 100 or 250 or things like that.
200 is just we like celebrated 200 episodes, but I don't think we did anything particularly noteworthy in that 200 episodes. What did we do for 100?
That's a good question. For episode 50, I know that we talked about our secret origins.
Oh yeah, what made us geeks?
In the first place? Episode 100, we looked back on our favorite Beer with Geeks episodes and talked about what our lives would be like if we weren't podcasters.
That
was episode 100. Did we do anything for 250?
250, we looked back at the biggest geek news covered in the last 5 years.
Nice.
Nice. So we, Thor, we did stuff about Thor, Gotham, The Flash, and Constantine on the small screen. What Wonder Woman looks like in BVS. Simon Pegg playing Alien in The Force Awakens. Just like all over the place. Brie Larson to be Captain Marvel. CBS unveils Star Trek Discovery, and it's look at the first ship. Yeah, Nicole Maines. Girl. So yeah,
it's wild. Some of these stories, I'm sure, were more recent at the time, and so it felt like they had a bigger impact. But now, another however many years in the rear view, it's like, oh, that wasn't as big a story as another 5 years later. It's like Simon Pegg playing a small part in Star Wars wasn't as big a news story as it felt like at the time.
No, but some stuff is funny how it's gone away. I think James Gunn fired from Guardians 3 over offensive tweets.
Wow, yeah. Gosh, that was 5 years ago. Mystery Science Theater coming back with new episodes on Netflix, and that show's over now.
Yep. Speaking of over, DC streaming service, we talked about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy. Some crazy stuff. So, but I think honestly, the 400 commentary on Batman '89.
I think that's the geekiest one. This wasn't a milestone, but it was one of the funniest or craziest situations we found ourselves in, which was we wanted to see I think we went to Shakespeare in the Park, and we recorded a podcast in your car in the garage underground beneath the Boston Common.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
And then we walked upstairs and watched the Midsummer Night's Dream or whatever it was at Shakespeare in the Park in Boston.
Wow. I totally forgot that we did that. That's wild. How did we have enough oxygen?
I don't know.
These are the things that you can do in your 20s that I have no interest in doing in my 30s now. If you were saying to me, we should record a podcast in the car and then go watch a 4-hour show in the park, you won't get home till 1 a.m. How does that sound? I said, that sounds terrible. I'm not doing that.
I know.
I'm not doing that.
I'm I don't know.
Yeah. How about we record a podcast at our normal time
and then go to bed.
Go to bed. Yeah. What are you going to do? Yeah. Well, Scott, thanks for the question. Thanks for being a friend of the show. And all things podcasting. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Let us move on. This is our last one. Last one comes from our friend Dan. Take it away, Dan.
Hello, Beer with Geekers, and in particular, my dear friends Tim and Frank. This is Dan, one-time guest host of Beer with Geeks and a massive fan of the podcast. I have a question for you. What is the most unexpected way your podcast has influenced your relationships? Thanks for answering my question, guys. Love you, mean it.
Love you too, Dan. Thank you. I can't believe he's only been on the show once. I could have sworn that he's been on a handful of times.
Me too.
So we'll have to address that.
Just presence in our lives that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like he's been present maybe for the recording of at least a couple episodes that maybe he didn't join. I don't know. But anyway, we'll get you on again, Dan. I have Beer with Geeks has been for us, for you and I, Tim, one of the ways that we keep in touch.
Mm-hmm.
It is a standing appointment for us to hang out. And when we lived closer to when we lived in the same state, it was a standing appointment for us to hang out in person. when we
Cook some dinner.
we would get dinner, we would hang out, socialize for a couple hours, and then record the show and say goodnight. Right? That was always great. And then as we no longer lived in the same state and we had to do it remote, and then the pandemic sort of solidified that. But still, it has been for 10 years, like with relatively few exceptions, we have hung out almost every week, whether virtually or in person, almost every week for 10 years. And that's been for me one of the best things, is that we were already good friends, but like that this has made it so that we are like, very, very quickly, we were even better friends than we were already, and I've loved that about this.
I agree, because I mean, we just like you said, we had the opportunity to hang out before or after we recorded the show. So like what everybody hears is a half an hour, 40 minutes. If we ramble a little bit longer than that, if we take Frank's last name seriously, we just kind of keep going. But. Your legal last name,
nice.
Frank.
Just rambling.
Yeah. But like, there's a lot of friendship behind the scenes. There's like there's a lot of laughs that we share. A lot of real connection. And so, and in some ways, it also like connects us to some other people too.
Yes.
And I think that's the next part, that it like some of the people that we that were kind enough to ask us questions today, like I haven't like been in their presence in like in real life, like they are our podcast internet friends, something our parents warned us against.
Yeah.
And look how that's worked out.
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty special. So like,
yes.
As far as it like affecting relationships, it's really only done wonders for Frank and our relationship. Our good friendship turned to a great friendship. Our great friendship turned into a greater friendship or something. And it's kept us in touch with a lot of really excellent people.
Yeah.
That we that we wouldn't have ever connected to otherwise.
Certainly. I've still yet to meet Brent in person. I haven't met Vactor in person.
Right.
A lot of these friends, we haven't met in person. Some of them we have, but even so, like some of them started out from the podcast, and then, and then we met after. But like, I've known Vactor for going 15 years or more, and we've still never had a chance to hang out in person. Hoping to fix that one day soon. But same for Brent, same for everybody. But yeah. It is. I mean, even Damon and Dan, they were friends of yours, and I only met them through you because they liked the podcast.
Yep, that's right.
That's how it started, at least.
You'll like that. Yeah, you'll like that. I think it was Damon that was like, "All right, we got to do it in person."
And I'm so glad we did, friends. Right? Because like they're great friend. We've been a great group of friends for a long time now. But yeah, like that was technically for me. I met them through Beer with Geeks from a certain point of view.
Yeah. Well, if anything, if the show has taught us anything, everything is from a certain point of view. Right. So, and I think that's, it's really wonderful. And like, so I think it was Damon that, like we, sometimes we just can't record, we're both married, we have kids, and so like, it's really hard to get together. And sometimes it's even hard to get together virtually. And so we asked, like, "Oh, is the show even happening anymore? Like, you missed 2 weeks or whatever." Like,
oh yeah,
no, it's still happening. And as far as we know, it's not going to stop anytime soon. Because when Frank and I started this 10 years ago, we said, okay, we'll each come up with 50 topics each, and if we do those, and if we each have 50 topics, even if we cross over, we'll know that there's going to be life to the show. 50 episodes. Here we are at 500.
10x that.
Right. And there's something to talk about because it's just good to talk to your friends.
Yeah.
So
it's done wonders for relationships, but our relationships with one another and our relationships with other folks as well. And that's not to mention listeners who we haven't met or spent as much time with, but have become very familiar with through social media, through emails, through like there have been so many of you folks who we now like we know and consider sort of part of the sort of bigger podcasting family, like part of the listenership and friends of the show, certainly, even if you haven't been on the show or we haven't met you in person or whatever. There's plenty of folks who I would put in that camp of like friends of the show because they've been such, loyal listeners and always giving feedback and interacting with us over the years.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Frank, I think that I guess here's the 500.
Yes, sir.
Here's the 500 more. But before we do our cheers for the 500th time, maybe, because I don't know if we started that at episode 1. I have no idea. I'm going to say we did. Why not?
I think we did.
Yeah. Where can the people find us?
You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com, where all 500 episodes are archived, and you can find them and listen to them, search them. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. Helps pay for server costs and that kind of thing. And you can support us by leaving a rating or review. If you haven't yet done that, left a star rating or written a short review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, we would certainly appreciate it. It would help a lot. It's been we used to really hammer that a lot in the early days. We'd read reviews sometimes, and that's sort of fallen by the wayside. But
gosh, I haven't read a review in I don't even know how long.
We used to read them on the show. I mean, yeah, right. Like we haven't read. I don't know when the last time we read them on the show was, but they're important and appreciated, and they help keep the show get recommended in the algorithm. So that's always great. And then you can follow or subscribe in any podcast app, and never miss an episode that way. Even if you don't listen to them all, just get them sent to your phone and don't listen to the ones that
you can
don't.
delete it after. I don't care.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, Frank, it is an absolute pleasure to talk to you for the 500th time. So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.